When I was 10 years old, my family received a picture book as a gift from a guest in our house. It showed this mystical, faraway place, Kentucky, with sunsets in colors like I had never seen, orange and pink, waterfalls that froze in the winter, and red bud trees that produced these bright pink blossoms. It looked so different from my life growing up in a large coastal city in Brazil, surrounded by palm trees. When I looked at that book as a kid, I had no idea that this would be my home one day. No matter where we're from, we all have a drive for adventure. And at 18 years old, when I arrived for my first college class in Williamsburg, Kentucky, I was ready for adventure. To embark in an adventure means to be uprooted. It involves transformation. It is exciting and frightening, and it makes us feel alive. At 18, I didn't consider that there would come a time when I would feel the need for growing roots or for belonging. You see, while we all have a call to adventure, we also have the need for being grounded. If adventure makes us feel alive, having a home makes us feel safe. It is comforting and nurturing to have a place where everybody knows your name, a place where we're known, where we belong. That need for belonging can feel like nostalgia for your childhood home, or longing for the life that could have been if you hadn't taken that adventure. As exhilarating as adventure is, losing one's roots can bring intense grief. It can feel like you're losing part of your very self. When you're in the middle of that transition between being uprooted from one place but not quite grounded in another, it can feel like you will never find your sense of home again, or that you will never belong anywhere again. Because you've been changed by adventure, the childhood home may not feel like home anymore, and yet you may not fit the mold of the new place either. Here in Appalachia, I was an outsider in a lot of ways. I'm a foreigner. I'm a formerly self-identified city girl, and on top of that, I'm a female clergy person, or as we're called around here, a woman preacher. So, what makes it possible for people to feel at home in a place that's completely different from their upbringing? It is the same human experience that enables us to find and embark in an adventure that also enables us to put down roots and find a sense of belonging. It turns out that the secret to having a grand adventure and the secret to having a place to belong are one and the same. Experiencing shared generosity. For example, the reason that adventure led me here is that for years I experienced that shared generosity with the people from Kentucky. Each summer, Kentuckians came to my hometown to share their faith, their resources, and their vacation time with us. I always looked forward to those encounters, as well as to the awesome otherworldly gifts they would bring us, like Hubba Bubba gum tape and Slinkies. In turn, we Brazilians would open our homes to house them, making share meals with them, and serve as their guides and interpreters. It was through those relationships that I came to know about Kentucky, and my parents felt that they could safely send me away to this foreign and yet familiar land. It's also through giving and receiving that Appalachia became home to me, because once we're able to engage in that shared generosity at the new place where adventure leads us, that's when we become rooted there. Let me tell you a story about how generosity enriches connection. A man that I used to serve as a hospice chaplain here in southeastern Kentucky, let's call him Joe. Joe used to always offer me a cup of coffee whenever I visited him. And to be honest, I wasn't really sure how clean those cups were. The coffee didn't taste that great, But I always accepted it because I knew that it was important for him to give, and it was important for me to receive. It reminds me of when the Kentucky missionaries came to my hometown, and as they made their visit rounds, every single house offered them coffee and sweets. And I know at times they didn't care for the coffee or the particular treats like guava jam or papaya cream, but they always ate something because they were appreciative of the hospitality, and that's how those relationships grew. In a similar way, because of that simple act of shared generosity with Joe, the visits I had with him are some of the most memorable to me. When my church here in Kentucky ordained me for ministry, they gave me 2 apple trees as ordination gifts. I was pregnant with my first child at the time, and we planted the trees where he would be able to see them from his window. Now that our children are 8 and 4 years old, those trees remind me that I was nurtured and watered by my family, my culture, and my church in Brazil, and how I am now planted in this community where we are raising our children. Annie Dillard has written about how trees extend impressively in both directions, up and down. You can say that they have roots that keep them grounded, but also exuberance and height. Researchers are learning more and more about how trees share nutrients with each other from their roots underground. From trees, we can learn that through shared generosity, we can nurture each other's roots. We can learn that roots can be transported and replanted, or that we don't even need to leave our ground in order to have a grand adventure. We may just need a higher perspective or to grow new branches. So, whether you have never left home or you are a transplant, be like a tree, rooted and exuberant. Don't be afraid to give, and don't be afraid to receive. Buy a stranger a cup of joe at the coffee shop, or deliver a casserole to a friend who might need some support. Say yes when someone offers you hospitality. Eat the food you're offered, even if it's strange or unfamiliar. By giving and receiving, you may open the door to a grand adventure. The more you give and receive, the more rooted you'll become, and that's how you know you have found home. Thank you.